What's going on, guys? This is the 5 Yard Pass podcast with me, Suddy, and this is Sham, and we're going to talk about the fixtures over the last few days and the big one coming up, Liverpool versus United. Although we talk about Premier League stuff here, we make it we don't hide the fact that we're both United fans. We try to be as unbiased as possible. And I think this episode will be, I think like many other kind of general football chat, the game on Sunday is the big one. Implications are huge. It's first versus second. Don't ask me how. United could go 6 points, potentially remain 3 points if it's a draw. We have City, who just beat Brighton yesterday as well, very hot on the heels of United and Liverpool. So there's so many permutations, I guess, that could happen. And the dangerous thing for Liverpool, if they do end up drawing this game, is I believe they could be overtaken by City, by Leicester as well.
And Everton.
Yeah.
They could drop to fifth. They could even drop to sixth, depending on how Tottenham go.
So as big as the game is, and we'll get to it a bit later on, as big as the game is for Liverpool, for United, you just feel there's very little expectation on United to win the game. I do think Liverpool are favourites, even though United have incredible away form. As impressive as United's kind of short-term away form is, Liverpool's long-term home form is undeniable. You know, so. We'll get into all that, but let's just start with the United-Burnley game. 1-0. Paul Pogba has just been on, I'd say, steady, good form. Why it seems impressive for me is because, why it seems impressive for everyone else is because he's never performed at a 7 out of 10 for 4 games in a row, but suddenly he's doing it when he should have been doing it for 3 years ago, from his second season when he kind of had that huge dip in form. So talk us through the game, man. I thought we were both texting each other. The goal kind of came out of I didn't say it came out of nowhere, but it was an incredible goal. Yeah. So talk us through the game. Sorry.
First thing is, I didn't actually realize that just looking at the pitch, it felt really small, the pitch. I don't know if it was the way Burnley defended or whatever. There just didn't really seem to be any wings, the lack of space. It was kind of that sort of, people talk about it like a wet Tuesday night in Stoke. It was kind of, they had that sort of vibe to the game. Burnley are probably the closest you'll get to that sort of Stoke type of thing, that sort of physical 4-4-2, get stuck in type of team. It's a cliche, but it's that type of game that you need to win if you want to win the title. And United did well enough. It's funny because they just keep, like, if any other team had won 9 out of the last 11 and drawn 2, you'd be going, oh my god, this is absolutely incredible. But with United, you kind of like, it's kind of like when someone's blowing up a balloon and you're just waiting for it to pop because it's been blown too hard. But United and Burnley, I mean, United, I think were, I don't want to say on top, but they did have it enough over Burnley for long enough in the game. Maguire, I don't know how that goal was disallowed. I thought that he did great. That's the type of header you expect from him. Great header to score a goal. VAR controversy with Shaw. That was a bit of a joke. I actually don't even think Shaw was a free kick. I think he made contact with the ball first. And then he collected the player in the follow through. And then the whole sort of sequences happened.
I interrupt you there. I actually thought it was a red card, man. I thought
you thought Shaw was a red card.
I thought with the follow through, I thought it was lucky.
Do you think there was contact with the ball?
Like, by the book, I thought it was a red card because I thought there was contact with the ball, but am I wrong to say that there's the rule state that studs up straight into the ankle? Is that a red card? It seemed like a red card to me. I always ask myself if that happened to you.
I get what you're saying. Because I think it comes down to intent. And only Luke Shaw knows his intent in that particular moment. But if you tell me he was sort of lining up the player, I wouldn't disagree with you. But if you go by the
and then moments later, Robbie Brady brings down Cavani. Should that have been a red card? I mean, that's the kind of same situation as the Jordan Pickford without the injury. Are they pulling back from the first? I think both should have been yellowed. If at the very least, both should have been given something. But I guess if you gave Robbie Brady a yellow card, that would have been a red card for sure. So in terms of the way it worked out for a fan, it worked out really well.
I think it was interesting. This rule about a player running directly at goal, they interpret that very literally. And Cavani he just sort of turned and was running just far enough away from goal that you wouldn't give it a red card. You know what I mean? Like, if he was any straighter and he was running any straighter at goal, you probably give the red card. So it was borderline in that sense. It's like you're talking about with Shaw, that there's sort of an interpretation of the rule. But I'd agree. I think we both would agree that it was a complete and utter mess, and it just creates this confusion that that just gets everyone very antsy, and it doesn't need to
Yeah,
be. It needs to be managed in a way that it's calmer and it's well managed. And the referee hasn't helped himself because there are accusations flying around that he's got a bit of a Leicester bias. I was looking at some of the platforms this morning. There were people bringing up stuff he did 4 years ago that helped to Leicester and all that sort of thing. I don't buy into it, but he hasn't done himself any favors. Um, Nilo was probably about right at the break. I did think United edged it, but I don't. I'm not going to sit here and say I thought United should have been up. But I think when they came out and played the second half, I thought they did very well. I think
yeah,
Manic and Pogba gave that access in the midfield. Bailly was really, really good. Um, Pogba played the type of game that if he played that way every week, he'd probably. I don't want to say it was a world class performance because I don't think it was. But if he played at that level or thereabouts every week, you're probably starting to throw the names like De Bruyne and Lampard and Gerrard and having those types of discussions.
yeah.
Something about him has settled down, and it's funny because you might think, oh, he's finally settled, or it's oh, he's finally decided he's leaving. You still don't know, and it's the irony of ironies with Man United. I mean, Pogba had a good, consistent game. I love the way he used his body in certain moments. He was holding
Mhm.
off players and using that strength that he got, and I don't think he does that often enough. But he was deliberately pushing the ball, putting himself between the Burnley player and the ball, and creating space for himself with that sort of 6'3" strong frame that he does have.
Well, I've said before, Sham. I've said before, Pogba at his best should be reminiscent of a prime time Yaya Toure. That same physique.
Yeah, he does have shades of Yaya
Toure,
about him.
Toure would be a bit more of the Gerrard ilk, game changer with pure with sheer determination, sheer kind of grit. Pogba is a bit more silky, more flamboyant, but it's the same kind of
Yeah,
it's the same kind of that kind of player.
yeah,
Just a bit, just
it's
really
that
quickly,
touch and that physicality and just the quality. Whereas
and
Gerrard
he
is,
has a long shot in him.
yeah,
He has a
Gerrard, the
beautiful.
Liverpool song about him, he's hard, he's fast, he's strong. It's a different Yaya and Gerrard are different types of players, and Pogba does lean over to that Yaya style.
Um,
Classy and aesthetic
just a
aside, he
quick
does lean
point.
that way. Yeah.
There is this conversation in MMA and boxing about bringing in ex fighters and ex fighters and ex coaches to do the scoring for boxing, especially boxing because it's so corrupt. I'm not saying VAR is corrupt, but it can kind of start to lean over that way if you have a set governing body doing making the decisions. When I say corrupt, I don't mean to people taking money. I mean corrupt in terms of recency bias and certain other types of bias. There is an argument to be made about having good conditioned ex players doing the VAR. If not, maybe not refereeing, because refereeing is a skill that you learn over 5-10 years. You go to the lower leagues,
Mm.
you come to the semi pros and all that. But there is an argument there for having, if Gary Neville was sitting in the VAR box, not of the United game, for you can almost trust that Gary Neville would make the right decision if
Yeah.
it was Leicester
You
Southampton.
probably would trust it, even do it for the United game, but non-United people wouldn't like that. He's
Yeah,
he's
but
that objective. But
I
I
could
agree with
see
you.
I could see players like him, Jamie Redknapp, the big time pundits, even a type
Well,
like a
any
James
ex-pro,
Milner.
any ex-pro, I think would be able to do it.
Like the real pros. Maybe if you want to keep it English because it's the Premier League, maybe that's a way you go about. But I think that's worth considering. I thought overall the game was good enough, and I think bar the top six, it's quite the opposite last season where United did really well against the top six last year, but this year they're kind of struggling against the top six for reasons you can go into many reasons, but I think United know exactly what it means to beat a bottom 14 teams now. They know just how much they need. And the thing about Pogba doing well now is that I don't believe Fernandes has played well in the last 4 or 5 games. I think he's been quite poor. And I don't mean by Fernandes standards, I mean by general standards. He's been quite poor. And it's good to see Pogba picking up the slack. And that's what the team is about. When you have a team of superstars, some people don't play well. When you only have Fernandes playing well, if you only have, like in Pogba's first season, I think it was amazing. The whole team played well. They won 2 trophies. But maybe the problem with Pogba was that, he's never had the support or the promises of transfers that ever came in. And the start of the season, he played poorly because he had COVID. You can't forget that. And the ramifications of COVID are very underplayed. The long-term ramifications, especially for a pro athlete, when your body's so finely tuned, anything comes in, it's quite hard to get over. Anyway, so coming back to the game, I thought overall it was played quite okay. I'm quite revved up for the game, man, on Friday and Sunday. And I think United are going into it quite with more confidence than Liverpool, but not a better team than Liverpool. Because Liverpool on their day are still the best in the world, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, overall, this puts United 3 points ahead. Something I never thought I'd say. There's a lot of kind of omens in that the last time United were top of the league at this time, they won the league. I still am not, I'm still not seriously taking those league title credentials seriously. I think beating Liverpool would be a big step. Beating Spurs again in 2 weeks would be a big step, and then we can start talking about if United are going to challenge.
It's interesting as well. I mean, we're United, men. We sit here and we talk about teams, and we always slip in a few comments about United. We're still no clearer really to understanding this team. They've got this. No. They've had a dreadful home record. They've had an incredible away record. They an incredible bunch of players who are sort of underperforming but doing enough to win games. The system's good enough, but somehow the response is only good enough to generate results. It's just so hard to get a read on this team. I do think individually United actually have quite good players. Do I think as a team that they're better than City and Liverpool? No, I don't. I think that those two are still the best as they were last season. And I think that there's a whole bunch of teams behind. And we've had these things, during the season, we sat here and gone, oh, Tottenham's going to be great. Chelsea's going to be great. We've talked about Southampton. We talked about Villa. We talked about Everton. Are United better than any of those teams? They're in better form at the moment. It's actually like to win 9 of your last 11 in the Premier League. United were, I think it was something like they had 7 points from 6 games. That's proper relegation form, and they've gone 20. Was it 29 out of the last 33 points? They're on 35 points now. Like it's something that's 36. But it's insane. Like what they've done, and there's still this semblance that the team's not quite there. There's still certain positions that need fulfilling. There's certain players that are underperforming. There's certain positions like the midfield axis. You've got 4 players. You've got Matic and Pogba and Fred and McTominay. Who's going to play? Why aren't they playing McTominay and Pogba, for example, in the midfield? What formation are they going to play against Liverpool? That's a massive question as well. There's just so many variables about this team. And I still think that they're not complete. Bailly has made a big difference at centre back. Every time I watch him, I just cross my fingers, nothing happens. But if he can play this way, it seems to weld the defense together and give everyone enough confidence. Rashford played on the right. I think he plays there when I get the feeling with Rashford, he plays on the right when he's sort of carrying enough of an injury. He sort of gets out of the way and provides width for the other guys to do their thing. So I do feel like he was carrying some sort of injury in that game. He looked quite stiff in the lower back, just in terms of he was trying to sort of overcompensate.
He's carrying the hopes. He's carrying the hopes and dreams of every child in the UK.
He's doing that list impersonation. Yeah. maybe it's all those meals he's carrying. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cavani looked good, but was a bit rusty. That happens when you get your game back, and he'll be better for that run out to go and play against Liverpool. And I hope that he plays. I think he with his savvy is a perfect guy to put against inexperienced centre backs.
We'll get to that in a second, Sean. I don't want to get into the Liverpool game too much. We'll talk about City first. So we'll just move on to City, then which we'll break up the topic. So City and Spurs. Spurs drawing one last night against Fulham. As usual, what you've said about Spurs, they're one plan A, no plan B team. They can't seem to close out games, even though they do play quite well, and they do have a good 6 or 7 players who could probably walk into any team. City, I saw the headline
again. Sorry, just to point out, they went 1-0 up and then conceded 15 minutes from the end.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what you've been doing
all the time, and at home as well. You got to beat Fulham at home if you want to do well. I mean, all respect to Fulham, they are where they are on the table. So yeah, I agree with you.
City, I saw the headline on ESPN this morning. I quite liked it. It says City are the title favorites hiding in plain sight. It's easy to, and I think I think any team, not just City, would enjoy the fact that the spotlight's not on them. You just don't feel the pressure. I think the pressure's on United right now, even a little bit more so on Liverpool, a little bit less so on Liverpool. I mean, and with the big game this weekend, it's a good chance for the next 2 or 3 weeks for City to climb up and potentially take the top spot and just reign on from, let's say, mid-Feb. If they were to claim the top spot, then you don't see them ever losing it when they do get to the top.
I wanted to tell a quick story. So this is about Johan Cruyff, and of course Guardiola's a disciple of Cruyff. So Cruyff was on Dutch television, and they asked him. It was a panel type discussion, and they go, "Can you put your favorite formation on the board?" So he puts his formation up, basically 4 at the back, a diamond in midfield, and 2 wingers. So he had no number 9. And one of the commentators goes to him, but what if you have Van Nistelrooy? And he goes, oh, if you got Van Nistelrooy, you got to play him at number 9. If you got a number 9, you got to play him at number 9. And he took the guy at the top of the diamond and pushed him forward. But Guardiola's favorite formation, like he did this with Barcelona as well. He plays a diamond with a false 9. And the strikers are basically inverted wingers running at goal who defend in wide areas.
Yeah.
And then the fullbacks join the attacks and provide width. So we can sit here and we can go, oh, Aguero is out. And Aguero is a valuable player. He scores bunches of goals. He scores important goals. They've shown that they can play without him. And that's a dangerous thing. Like, it's a very underrated thing as well. They're able to win games without their best striker. There's not really a team in the competition that you could say can do that. So they've got to have him as sort of like a plan B almost to bring in, plus all of the tactical flexibility that Guardiola did. I think Guardiola outsmarted Solskjaer in the League Cup. So he's got that tactical flexibility that he refined it. Bayern Munich and Barcelona, he played the same formation a lot. At Bayern Munich, he had the best team in the Bundesliga, so he experimented a lot with formations and did different things. He played, there was one game he put Lewandowski up front and just punted long balls at him for 70 minutes and then took him off and brought Götze on. And all the players knew as soon as Götze came on, he played through balls. And they're playing Dortmund, and Dortmund just weren't ready for it. And then Götze got a hat-trick and they won 3-0. But you could see that he'd set them up just in the head to just expect long balls. So he's got that flexibility. So they're very dangerous. And like you said, hiding in plain sight, I think that's quite apt. They had a quiet start to the season like United. They took a little longer than United to get into gear, but they are in gear. And they are in, for me, as well as United have played, City are the form side in the league.
Form side and the favourites.
And when I say as well as United played, I'm talking about 9 wins from 11. I'm not talking about, beautiful football.
Form side and favourites. It will be interesting to see United and City. City. I mean, have a slight. Who they have in the Champions League? A slightly easier opposition in the Champions League.
City have Mönchengladbach. Liverpool.
No. I mean, where's Mönchengladbach now in the?
I think they're still in the Champions League spots, but they're not doing as well as last year. And that's to be expected.
They did very well last year. That's what I'm thinking of.
They qualified for the Champions League last year.
Give me a second. Sorry. Yeah. So the seventh. Close they could be between 7th and 10th. So they're kind of in between in that kind of Spurs spot. So
it's nice seeing Mönchengladbach do well because they're a historical club. Their team in the 70s were really good. Like you got Hamburgs. Bayern Munich they won the Champions League 3 times in the 70s, and they had a lot of the German players. But teams like when the way we talk about Dortmund or Leipzig now, teams like Hamburg that Kevin Keegan played for, and Mönchengladbach were the teams in the 70s in Germany.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, go on.
No, that's fine. What I was going to say was City have a slightly easier round in the Cup, slightly easier round in the Champions League. Although they do have the Cup final to look forward to. That's a one-off game. Way down in April, so that doesn't kind of break up the season. I think in April we'll have a pretty good idea of the 2 or 3 sides who are definitely in it. I mean, a part of me hopes not. A part of me hopes you get to April and there's still 6 sides and that'll be exciting, but I don't think that'll be the case. Just the way the league goes, people beat each other. There won't be as many draws as we think. And so this leaves this round before we get to the big game on Sunday, which I think most of this conversation will be about. Do you have the league in front of you there, Sham?
As in the league table? Yeah,
the league table. So we have obviously United on top spot playing Liverpool next. City's creeping up on 3rd. They win the game in hand. They go 34 points. Leicester, Everton, and then in the relegation battle, not much has changed. Burnley, Brighton, Fulham, West Brom, and Sheffield. So this weekend kind of tees itself up with a few games kind of a bit more important for the bottom sides. But as we've kind of bang on a lot right now, it's a big one for Liverpool United. So let's talk about it. Let's get straight to it. I think we've been excited about this episode for a few weeks now.
Yeah, there's been a lot
given that Burnley, with the hope that Burnley did lose to United, which they did. So Liverpool United 4:30 on Sunday. I don't even know where to start. This is very exciting for me.
Liverpool have had a bit of a break, so it will be interesting to see. There's no doubt that they've done a lot of tactical work for this game specifically. They'll know how big it is. They've had a bit of time to prepare for it. It's interesting. Like you could sit here and argue United have had game time. They could start and just be on a roll and get over Liverpool. Or you could argue that Liverpool are fresh. They've got a specific plan. They'll come out and hit United.
You could argue both ways very easily. Yeah.
They could go both ways very easily. I do tend to think that United, they're not the best starters in games, whereas Liverpool can start quite well. So I have a feeling it might start that way, that United are going to find themselves on the back foot a bit. I do think that Klopp will have it in his players to just go out there and hit them as hard and early as they can. Liverpool are a team that have more confidence at United right now. I know that Liverpool have struggled for form. It's more about struggling to convert chances. They actually play quite well till they get to about the final third, and just the ability to get the ball and convert it into enough chances and take those chances to win games is lacking. If you look at the Southampton game, Liverpool brilliant until they got to about 10 meters outside the box, and then they only created one shot on target the whole game. Just that ability to convert is an issue. The narrow three will be an issue, I think, for United. It will suit Bissaka versus Mane is going to be an epic matchup, I think, on that side. I think that could decide the game, really. And who in the world? I have a feeling it'll be Luke Shaw against Mohamed Salah. I think Telles might come on to provide an attacking option later on, but I think they'll start Shaw against Salah. And just the way that team plays narrow, what do United do to defend against Liverpool's fullbacks? I don't think that it's going to suit playing. I have a feeling Ole Gunnar would like to play a diamond, but how do you defend with a diamond against a team that provides a lot of attacking output from its fullbacks? So I think that's going to be a very interesting question.
I think that's a good point, and I don't know the answer to that. But for me, the key battle now, I think Thiago will start, and what United have done well is they've done well to nullify midfield battles quite well. Surprisingly, in Fred and McTominay, and you just feel McTominay's up for this game. You know, he's got that Fletcher quality. We've said it before. What was that we said?
He's a shit player.
He's not a good player. He just plays well. No, he's not a good player. He just plays well. If McTominay's there, he's not a good player. He just plays well. You just feel he's up for it. Fred.
I was just on Fletcher quickly. I was listening to one of these, the Monday Night Football when he was on there with Carragher. And Carragher was sort of asking him about taking on Gerrard and like how he felt about nullifying Gerrard but not doing anything himself. And he's like, I only cared about what my teammates thought. It was all about the club. Like he didn't care that anyone would say that he's a shit player but plays well.
Yeah,
for him, it was
I'm not surprised.
I just want the club to win. And he could tell that it didn't even occur to him to think about what people outside the club would think. The way he answered the question. And I think McTominay's like that.
The players of that time, and McTominay is a rarity maybe in that respect. So is someone like a Jordan Henderson maybe. Fletcher and all those guys didn't have social media, I guess, to constantly be chirping in the ear. And I think if you do get affected, the Pogbas and the Lingards do get affected by social media. So coming back to Thiago, I think someone like him and Henderson, the way they move the ball around is unparalleled. Maybe in world football, the way they can just go. Henderson, I've said it, I very reluctantly admit, like he is the best at what he does. And when you have him, Thiago, potentially Gini,
I think Henderson off the ball to me is elite. I'm not convinced about Henderson on the ball being elite.
I say he's on the ball elite because it's a cliche, but he does the ordinary things extraordinarily. Get, turn, pass, and you're constantly wondering. The thing about United is that they're two one track on the left side. If you watched, or the 2-1 track on the way where Marcus Rashford is actually. So if you watch that, they're very predictable, but at times they do the physical aspects of United maybe outperform the defenses in terms of speed, movement, passing, but there is only one track for United. Yeah, occasionally they get their little tiki-taka thing around the box and they get a goal against smaller sides, but that never happens against the big sides. So the thing the danger with Liverpool is they attack from anywhere, left, right, center, and I wouldn't say I'm not confident. I think I don't agree with you. I think United are going in with more confidence than Liverpool because Liverpool do rely. I mean, as every team does, Liverpool rely on those front two. If Salah and Mane were injured, let's say before this game, I put no chance to Liverpool.
Oh, there's a definite they have good players, Liverpool up front, but if you take Salah out or Mane out, there is a definite drop in quality.
Yeah. There's a huge drop, and I think they have the best. I think they haven't made. With Jota out, they haven't made enough good decisions to have enough good backup. Jota was a great buy. It was a great backup, but he's out 6-7 weeks.
He was the backup.
But at the moment, sorry?
He was the backup.
He was the backup, is my point. But, I mean, if you look at how if you have one injury at United, you have Cavani, Rashford, Martial, Greenwood. Okay, maybe the way Liverpool play stretches out the fact that they don't have much depth at the moment. So I I don't know how to go about analyzing the game. I would just will say that Liverpool's midfield is so key in this, because
You think Thiago will
United
play?
can tend to struggle against teams that press them very quickly, and you saw that against Burnley.
So if you go, let's go through the Liverpool team. So you got Allison in
Yeah,
goals, uh, Trent and
Robertson.
Robertson,
Yeah,
Fabinho, and who do you think it'll be? It won't be Henderson, but you think it'll be like
I'll
either
go. We'll
Williams
go.
or
Just
the young
continue
fella.
with that. I'm gonna go look up who's injured for them right now.
If you go on the midfield, let's assume Thiago plays. Let's assume Henderson plays.
Yeah.
The other spot will be interesting. I do think that they'll try and keep it simple, Liverpool, at least to start the
Okay.
game. So they'll probably pick a more defensive type option, like a just someone who can win the ball and pass it around. I think that they'll try and nullify.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see because Henderson is a centre midfielder. Thiago can play defensively, but I don't think they'll play Thiago at the base of the midfield. You know how they sort of play the sort of one deeper midfield with the two sort of in front.
Yeah.
I don't see Thiago playing in that role. I see someone who basically will try and go out and just stop Bruno. That's how I see
Okay.
it going.
So the players missing in terms of for this game, not the long term, was Naby Keita is doubtful, Matip is doubtful, and then you have the long term injuries. Van Dijk, Jota, Gomez are out. For United, the doubtfuls Martial and Lindelof. The long terms are Rojo, Jones, Palestra. I mean, no one cares about that. You know, they've not played at all. Palestra is not really a first team player at all. So what they're saying, the suggestion is that I think we've got most of the team right there. Wijnaldum is more likely to play with the other two fellas in the
Yeah,
midfield,
yeah,
and Nathaniel Williams. Is it Nathaniel Williams
yeah.
or
It'll
Neco
be
Williams?
interesting to
There's
see
two
those
Williams.
roles with the Liverpool midfielders because
And the other suggestion, Reece Williams, excuse me, Neco is the other one. Reece
yeah,
Williams. The other suggestion would be that if Keita is fit, Henderson drops into the centre half like he did against Southampton.
um,
Like he was
yeah.
decent. The goal wasn't his fault. The goal was Trent. He let the ball come across his
Oh
body.
yeah. I don't think he was liable for the goal. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I get he's tall. He's tall. I'm not the biggest fan of him there, particularly alongside Fabinho, just because you got two defensive midfielders playing as centre backs. But you never know. Klopp may want the experience out there, but at the same time, Klopp has backed in youngsters. He's not afraid to do that. He backed in Trent. You know, he's backed in. Robertson he was young enough when he came over. That young Irish goalkeeper, Williams. So he has backed youth. Even Origi and Jones, he does back young players, which I always like. I think it's a sign of a confident manager to back a youngster. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I'm interested in how that midfield three will line up in their individual responsibilities because I do think there will be a deliberate effort to stop Bruno. I think he'll have a direct opponent, and it's probably someone like Wijnaldum. But at the same time, like does that get rid of Wijnaldum's offensive impact? Do they play a certain way with the ball? Like without the ball, maybe Wijnaldum drops deep, but maybe with the ball, Thiago comes and sits in front of the defensive two and tries to string passes together. That mix of that three, because that for Liverpool, their defense when they got their best 11, the defense is pretty. You know who's going to play. The front three, you know who's going to play. That midfield mix will be very interesting, and probably the same question with United as well. I expect McTominay, Pogba, and Bruno to play in the midfield. I think, but how they play will be interesting. Is it going to be 4-2-3-1 with those three, or will they play with Fred behind them in a diamond? But I think McTominay's DNA tells me he's going to play. Pogba's the form player. Bruno's the star. So I do think that those three will have a role in the game.
And I don't think you're going to see much. It's just purely based on, again, the movement of that midfield. It's not.
One game
I don't think it's
theory with Matic. Yeah, he's good one game a week, but he's
Yeah, look, the man's 33, 34, and he's got
the
turning radius of a small ship. So this game is not for him. You know, back in the day, he was again one of the best players of what he did, but not anymore. I just got one question for you before we kind of slowly wrap things up here. By Maguire, assuming Lindelof is injured, do you play Bailly or do you play Lindelof? I think Bailly will play purely because of injuries. I don't think it's a selection issue anymore.
If it was a selection issue, I would go with Bailly.
Okay.
One, he's in form. Two, he makes Maguire better.
He's got frightening pace.
I think Maguire struggles with Lindelof, and it's not Lindelof's fault or Maguire's fault. I just think that Bailly complements Maguire better. He's more vocal, he's quicker, and he can cover. I don't think Lindelof covers very well.
Lindelof might bring the best out of another defender, but it doesn't bring the best out of Maguire for sure.
Yeah, and I'm just talking specifically about Maguire because Maguire, frankly, will always be the first name on the team sheet.
The only liability, well, the biggest liability I see at United is not even the midfield. It's actually the chemistry between Maguire and Shaw. Is actually it's been okay recently, but they tend to bring out the worst in each other for positioning. Shaw has his moments where positioning can be quite poor at times, and that drags Maguire because Maguire plays left centre back, and it kind of drags him out. And that's the only suspect to have. And you talk about width and teams that play with exceptional world class width. Liverpool is that, who's playing on the right? Is it Salah on the right? Yeah, Salah will be on the right.
Salah's sneaky, man. Salah will find a half a yard where he can find it and just shoot on sight. Like he's good enough to do that and score a goal.
His reactionary shooting. I point to the Everton goal. I think it was against Everton when the ball just came bang.
He hits it so clean. Yeah,
absolutely. Best left foot in the world, bar Messi maybe. So he has in some ways, in many ways actually, he has that Robben. You know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to cut in, but he just can't be stopped. I don't know why.
But a lot of good players are like that. Go! I mean, David Beckham was like that. Luis Figo was like that.
Yeah,
he's so good. What's Luis Figo's YouTube video? It's like duck the shoulder, run down the wing, hit across. Duck the shoulder, run down the wing, hit across. Like it's the same thing. But if you are, and a lot of players get like if they're very good at everything, they don't get picked. But if you are extraordinary at one thing, clubs will pick you thinking that they can just develop the rest to make it enough. Like Theo Walcott had the extraordinary pace. Arsenal didn't develop him into what they thought they could develop him into, but he went to the Arsenal because of his extraordinary pace. And that's how players get picked. So you've got talented players for that reason are not particularly well-rounded because they get picked because they excel at one thing rather than being very good at a lot of things.
Well, then you have the Phil Nevilles and the John O'Shea's who are good at everything. You'd put John O'Shea in the middle of the park and the wing, blah blah blah. Even in goals.
And every team needs a John O'Shea, but you go and get the Ronaldo and the Rooney first, and then I need John O'Shea. You know.
Yeah.
Ronaldo takes the shot, it gets parried, and John O'Shea taps it in at the top end of the last minute.
I'll get straight to it. We've said how we think the game is going to go out. We think Liverpool's going to hit United fast from the start. United are going to have to grow into the game. I tend to agree with that. But I think when it comes to in terms of recovery advantage, I think United having that extra game, I think is a bit more of an advantage. As a team, you have to understand, like playing, even though they play Watford, you do have a bunch of 20 guys going through the motions of warming up, of doing all that kind of stuff. And I think it inevitably will help. However, the advantage here for Liverpool has to be the home ground. Barring the fact that they have, besides the fact that they do probably...
Those 2,000 fans will sound like 200,000 fans. Will they have fans? Actually, I don't think they have fans, will they?
No, they don't.
They'll all be outside the stadium and sound like 200,000 fans. I don't know. Somehow there will be noise. Yeah,
somehow. I just feel the home advantage. They definitely do have a better team. Although a marginally better team, I don't think it's far superior as it has been in the last 3 years.
The gap has reduced. I still think Liverpool are better, but the gap is narrow.
The gap has reduced for sure. People like De Gea back on form. I think Maguire's had quite a good season. I think he gets a lot of stick, and Bailly coming back in the team has just leveled up the defense. For me, I'll start first. I think it's going to be a draw. In my very humble opinion, I think it's going to be 1-1. I think United are going to scrape through a 1-1 draw. Now, I will say this to as a caveat. I do want them to win. I just don't think they're going to win. I think it's going to be 1-0. United are going to scrape a draw. Potentially even go 1-0 up like they did the game last 2 Octobers ago. Rashford scored off a Dan James assist, and then Salah got a goal later on. It'll be something like that where United kind of hang on. And that's how I think it's going to be. And that's it. And United are going to win the league. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that, like I said, I want United to win. I can't see them winning this one. It's interesting. It's also, there's something to be said for momentum. Like when you see players win trophies, they're just like, I just want to get out there. I just want to play. You know, Giggs said in '99, we didn't care we were playing every 3 days. We just wanted to get out there and play. There's something to be said for that. I have questions over United. I think to get a result, are going to have to do something very, very different to what they've been doing this season. This is not a game where they're going to try and get out there and take it on. I don't think I have questions over whether they can implement that strategy clearly enough. I actually think Liverpool will score first. I think Liverpool will score early. I just see something happening. Probably Maguire and Shaw will run into each other. But I'm not sure if United can get it back. I'm gonna go 1-0 Liverpool. I think the game will end like that. I don't see a goal in United unless there's some drastic error by a Liverpool player. So I'm gonna go Liverpool 1-0.
I mean, it comes down to this feels like another semi-final situation. United have besides this, the 5 semi-finals that United have bottled in the last 2 years or so, you got to look at the big games. And a big game I look at, for example, is in Ollie's first season when he could have got fourth. There were 4 or 5 games in a row that they could have won and gone up to fourth, and they didn't. There were a couple of times towards the end of last season, except for the last game, they could have gone fourth and they didn't. And then you have the semi-finals, and then you have the Red Bull Leipzig game, when really should have won that game, given they beat Red Bull Leipzig.
They gave away 2 sloppy goals. The
Yeah,
two goals they conceded was stupid goals to give away.
It's a game of semi-final quality, and they just don't have something. And I don't know what it is. You want to talk about a right winger and Jadon Sancho? You want to talk about a better left back? Maybe, I don't know what it is.
I think it's gumption. I don't think enough players believe in them. Like you look at guys like Martial, you look at guys like Luke Shaw, even Maguire. I'm not sure if they can believe where they are. You know, De Gea I would put in that bracket as well. I don't see them strutting around like they're a champion. Rashford, yeah, you could see him with a medal around his neck. Bruno, you could see Cavani, you could see, but there's too many players in United I think that don't believe. It's interesting that they were very ecstatic when they beat Villa. They were very ecstatic when they beat Burnley. They understand the importance of winning. Is that going to give them something that they can go to Liverpool and get a result? Big question mark. It's possible, but I just think that if United were to win this game, it's one of those seismic shifts where you probably wouldn't see Liverpool again. And I just don't see that. I think Liverpool have got this team that's won the league and won the Champions League. I think there's a few more chapters. I don't think it's time for that shift yet.
Yeah, no, I kind of disagree with that, but it's a scary thought to think Van Dijk heals up, and I hope he does heal up because he's a fucking great player, and this shouldn't be the end of his best playing days. So he heals up. Fabinho comes back into midfield. I mean, that team just levels up again.
Yeah.
You know, granted, Mane. There's all these rumors about Mane or Salah. I don't think Mane will leave, but there's all these rumors about Salah leaving. I hope he does. I hope he does. For Chelsea.
He played for Chelsea. He's played for Basel. He's played for Roma, Liverpool,
Fiorentina as well. Shortly.
Fiorentina. So he's played for a few clubs.
Yeah. So, but there will always be a Real Madrid rumor when you're the best.
Oh yeah.
One of the best wingers. So, if this Liverpool team stays fit, they don't have any injuries next season, Van Dijk comes back in, Fabinho drops into midfield. I mean, that's a scary team again, man. They're already a good team, and it becomes scarier. So, as for United, this game means a lot to United fans. It means a lot to United fans because there's a lot of us who took the success for granted. Like yourself, I don't think you would remember, even you're a bit older than me, but I don't think you remember United unsuccessful or too unsuccessful.
No,
until the last 7 years.
Football in the early 90s, and that was when Liverpool started winning.
And they were already building up. Perhaps you saw 1 or 2 kind of 6th and 11th finishes. I think it was in Fergie's 2nd and 4th season. But
I was still that was a bit before my time even.
Yeah, so this means a lot to United fans in the sense to beat Liverpool and to cement a place. It goes into that narrative of knocking off the perch. That the Fergie narrative. I think I can guarantee Fergie will be at, if not at the game, he'll be watching it at home. So it means a lot to United fans. It means a whole lot to Liverpool fans. And you know what? Put all that aside. If these teams were 7th and 11th, this is still the biggest game in England, and I'm fucking excited. I'm so excited for this game.
Yeah.
So we've set our predictions, and let's just really quickly. We've given a lot of fucking.
Oh wait, there's other games.
Yeah, there's other games. So we'll just really quickly take about 5 or 10 minutes. We just kind of brush through the rest of the game. So we got a couple of good games. I think Leicester playing Southampton there. Everton playing
Where are we
Aston
going
Villa.
from?
Again, these are
Should we start? Let's go through the order. Do you want to start with Wolves, West Brom?
yeah, we'll just kind of run quick predictions there. I don't think we both. I think we
Wolves will
both
nick
don't
it.
see West
Yeah,
Brom
at
winning
home.
this, but I Wolves winning this will be big odds. They've just been a bit shit lately, honestly. Like that's just it. They've just been shit.
Wolves, yeah,
Wherever
haven't
they're
won
now
in
on the
5.
table.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're 14th, man. Like they're not the Wolves that we know. You got to give what's his name, Espirito, leeway because his best striker is injured. His second best striker was sold. They have, who's the guy? I can't remember who got injured as well. And they're just not the team that they were. Similar to Sheffield United, they just lack what they had last season. They're not going to get relegated, but I think a draw for this one
yeah.
is
So,
probably.
I agree with the draw. Yeah.
We'll move on to probably the next most important game, Leicester Southampton. So Leicester is now third in the table, Southampton seventh. They're separated by 3 points. So huge game. I mean, I would have thought Leicester Southampton this season would be a huge game. Who do you see winning this?
Yeah, if it's a 2-goal win to Southampton, they'll take over Leicester. So I'm going to go with Leicester purely because it's at home.
Yeah, same. And then we move on to Villa Everton again. In terms of positions, huge game.
That's a good game.
Eighth versus fifth. Eighth versus fifth. Two teams playing very, very good football. Who's playing at home? Sorry, I've lost that.
It's a
Villa's playing at
home game.
Everton struggled in the FA Cup against Rotterdam, but I think that's just the magic of the cup. So I'll go with I think I'm going to go with an Everton win with this one.
Okay. I'm going to lean to the draw. I think Everton, they're in good form. FA Cup aside, Villa, they haven't won their last 2. I know that.
Yeah.
I think as well that they've got less games, so they'll be building up to finish the season well. But I just don't see one team getting it over the other team. I see this one as a draw.
Fair enough. And we'll just move on to Palace City. I think every game that City playing now is important because I don't think many people are looking at them.
I think this will be 5-0 to City. I think they'll spank the bejesus out of Crystal Palace. They'll score one early. They'll score the second after 20 minutes. It'll be 4-0 at half time, and they'll score one about 65 minutes in. 5-0.
Absolutely. I was going to say 4-0. You say 5. I think. And Arsenal playing Newcastle for the second time in a week, I believe. They played in the FA Cup and they won on penalties. Oh no, sorry, they won 2-0. So Arsenal play tonight. So we were recording this on Thursday morning UK time. This is before Arsenal last week. Game.
Yeah.
I don't see. I think Arsenal. Look, they're not the solved. They haven't solved their problems. Excuse me, but they seem to be in a good moment, as a Spanish-speaking manager would say. They seem to be in a good moment. I hope they do well. Like we took the piss out of Arsenal, but they're a classic Premier League side. Newcastle, they'll end up surviving, but I don't think they'll survive this game. I'm gonna go 3-1 Arsenal.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's at Emirates as well, so I think I see a win.
Yeah,
there.
Exactly.
It's a bit of a less of a deal that there's not going to be 60,000 Arsenal fans there, but Newcastle and Arsenal are probably the two clubs. So aside from Newcastle and Southampton, it's probably the longest trip in the league to go from Newcastle, or at least to go from Newcastle to London to play a game. So there's less people, but you still got to remember that there's an element of travel involved to get there.
Yeah. All right, perfect. Thanks, Laksham. Who's your play to watch? We'll just go with the United Liverpool game. Who's your play to watch for that game?
I'm gonna go with a battle. I'm gonna go with Thiago versus Bruno.
Thiago versus Bruno, not Thiago. Oh yeah, it would be Thiago Bruno. I'm gonna go Bailly, man. I think Bailly is a key man. I don't think a fully fit Bailly in this form has ever played Liverpool, not to my memory. And it could be a shock for those front three because Bailly covers ground like nobody else. He's got lightning pace, and I think they're going to get a bit of a shock. Now Liverpool are a much shorter team than United as well. So in the air, Maguire is going to be important. So who knows?
Yeah, Maguire. Right. Apart from Henderson, Fabinho's tallish, but apart from Henderson, they haven't really got any tall players, do they? Whereas United could feasibly play Pogba, Maguire, Bailly, and Cavani. So that could have some sort of.
United is about 187 centimeters on average. Excuse me. I'm looking at that properly. 185 on average. Liverpool are about 178, 179 on average. That's a bit of a difference.
185 is Jamie Carragher's height. So you could play centre back and be 185.
6'1", 6'1", right? 185
yeah, it's a bit short for centre back, but like tall for an average.
No,
height.
Sam, that's the
178 is about Patrice Evra's height. So it's a comparable difference.
Yeah, that's the average height. So yeah, I think the two, particularly in Bailly, but I think Maguire is going to be key. And yeah, we'll end it up there. Excuse me. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to get a Leicester perspective on what we think, check out our last podcast with Neil from Beyond the 90 Leicester City fan channel. My name is Suddy. This is Sean. We are the 5 Yard Pass podcast. Keep football simple, and as always,
keep passing, guys. Cheers.